I'm Matt Reynolds, and this is my podcast.
I can do the job, but running the business is quite difficult. What a lot of tradesmen lack, and I was probably one of them, is business skills.
I don't mind making mistakes. You learn from your mistakes.
Information is all around you in the minds of people that work beside you.
Welcome back to the Trench Talk podcast. I'm Matt Reynolds. I'm a plumber, and this week I sat down with Phillip Di Bella of Di Bella Coffee. Now, ordinarily, the idea of these discussions, for those of you joining us for the first time, is to go into the trenches of achievement and talk, not with people who are orchestrating from some lofty perspective, but to those high performers who are actually in the trenches, honing their craft. That is including guests from the worlds of business, sport, and entertainment, all of whom are on the front lines doing amazing things. This episode is slightly different because although Phil currently has many business interests, he's emerged from the trenches, so to speak, of building Di Bella Coffee as the company has now been sold. The information shared here comes from his entire journey, including starting the business through to the eventual exit. In 2002, Phil put in $5,000 of his own money and began working in his garage. Recently, in June of 2017, he completed the sale of his company to the Retail Foods Group for $47 million. As you can imagine, there's a lot to learn between $5,000 and $47 million. In this chat, we covered starting the business, including the struggles of the first 12 months, building a brand, why if you ever find yourself on a flight with Phil, he probably won't talk to you, the tall poppy syndrome, the sale of Di Bella Coffee, and his thoughts on achieving work-life harmony. If you'd like to connect with Phil, you can find him on LinkedIn and on Facebook. Enjoy my chat with Phillip Di Bella. Phillip Di Bella, thanks for doing this. We're in your offices this morning in Brisbane. Thanks for having me in.
Yeah, no, thanks for doing it. It's a pleasure to be part of it.
Got the roasters, machining away in the background here. Now, we connected after you posted an article on LinkedIn referencing the tall poppy syndrome.
Yeah.
Why is it that we're so quick as Australians to take aim at our high achievers?
I think because we've actually got a big disparity between people that are happy to, I'd say there's three kinds of people in Australia. There's those that just want to bludge and do nothing and expect things to be done for them and government to hand out money. There's those that just want to go to work and do their thing and, make an honest income and live life and have a good life. And then there's those high achievers that want to go out there and really make a mark for themselves and achieve, high levels of whatever success it is. And to me, the two later categories are great. The only one that I begrudge is obviously category number one, for those that just want to sit around and are happy for everyone else to pay their way for them. And I think if you look at the tall poppy syndrome, as a stereotype, what happens, it's those that aren't achieving what they wish they were in the three categories that will be begrudgingly having a go at those that are achieving what they are in those categories. Yep. So it's not really, to me, the non-workers having a go at the successful high achievers or having a go at the successful everyday workers. It's more like the everyday worker in category two having a go at the same person in category two, but that's achieving much better than them. And in short, what I mean by that is that we have a way of facing outwards rather than inwards. And that's something that I find very common, and I've had hundreds of staff now working with me across different businesses. And one of the key elements is that I always say to them, worry about yourself, worry about your personal brand, don't worry about what other people are doing. But as a nation, I think we constantly look outwards rather than looking inwards.
Because it's easier, right, to look outwards rather than look in the mirror?
Well, I don't know if it's easier. I don't know. I mean, this is, obviously a question for the psychologists and would take a lot of work. But I don't know whether it's easier or whether it's a numbing effect. Whether it's just, I don't want to look at myself in the mirror, so it's easier to look external. I mean, again, I haven't put my finger on it, but I definitely know that, the tall poppy syndrome exists because people aren't happy with where their position is in life. And if they became happier with where they are and what they've achieved, because to me, success isn't about how much money you've got. It's not about what car you drive. It's not about the clothes you wear, jewelry. It's not possessions. Success to me is that harmonious lifestyle of being very comfortable with the person that you are. And if you're in that state, then you're very successful.
And does it make it easier to deal with any criticism that may come your way? Because you've said before, if I've got it correct, that you have felt targeted from time to time.
Oh, look, I have, but I'm not a victim. And the reason I'm not a victim is because I tell them to piss off. I'm as direct as they come. I stab people in the chest. I don't stab them in the back. We've all got ego. We've all got emotions and a touch of ego. That's what drives us, right, at any level. But does it hurt? Well, does it hurt as much as knowing that somebody's passing away? Well, no, of course not. So in the big scheme of things, if you look more internal and make it and look at what's relevant and what's not, you get over that pretty quickly. But I'm by no means a victim. I mean, and don't play the victim, because it's people are going to say what they want to say, and this is something for listeners to really think about. And I haven't been proven wrong yet, but 90% of the people that say bad things about you to others have never met you.
Yeah.
And it's a common thing. If I have someone talking to me about somebody else, the first thing I say to them is, have you met that person? Do you actually know the person? And 90% of the time, 9 out of every 10, have never met the person that they're actually happy rubbishing. So there's no question whether the tall poppy syndrome exists or not. But hey, if we're going to sit back and worry about that, we're never going to get anything done in our lives, and we're never going to be happy souls. So, screw that, get on with it, and just work on looking inwards and being as happy as you can be.
No, I couldn't agree more. You really have to take into account who is dishing out the advice and criticism from both angles.
Oh, right? For sure.
Now, what do you do day to day? Because you've built Di Bella Coffee, you've sold it, you're post the settlement now.
Yep.
What's day to day for?
Well, I'm 42, so I'm still young. My 3 passions, and again, this comes from looking inward, and doing a lot of reflection. I know myself quite well, and the 3 passions I have is people, opportunity, and education. So what am I doing? I still got some businesses that involve people that have got good GMs in place, people that have been with me for a long time, that have worked through the ranks, and we've opened businesses to make sure that they're well looked after and creating their own mark on the world. I'm always in education mode, so I'm an adjunct professor now at UQ. I was previously at Griffith University. I'm now at UQ, helping MBA students and lecturing and doing some stuff like that. So knowledge out as well as going and learning myself. I go and do courses at Harvard University in America and stuff like that to keep myself learning mode. And opportunity. So I invest in some startups, new businesses, and I've just recently launched a project in New York with 2 other partners to start, another coffee business like Di Bella. And that's going to be called Abbotsford Road, and it's based in Brooklyn, New York.
Okay, and what does it involve?
Oh, it'll be exactly like Di Bella, just in another country. So it'll be a manufacturing wholesaler, supplying cafes and restaurants in New York, providing great coffee, great training, helping business owners make money. The same philosophy of what we did here in Australia. And that's what we did different. We didn't sell coffee. That was the transaction. What we actually did was turn a product business into a service business. And I've got a vision, always had a vision to do that in America, and I've got 2 really good partners to do it. And it's a lot easier second time round when you've got other people that you can rely on.
And is there a reason you just didn't pick up Di Bella and go put it in New York? Why is there a change? I mean, you've got partners involved, which I guess is different, but...
Yeah, look, Di Bella was the right timing. I grew it to where way bigger than what I ever thought it would be.
Oh, really?
For sure. I mean, I never thought we'd be a national company. There's no way I thought we'd be the biggest in what we do. It was just this momentum that gained speed because of the quality of people that worked for us and the quality of clients. We had amazing staff, amazing clients, amazing suppliers. We really worked on the concept of relationships. And we found that the more that we focused on people and relationships, the bigger the business grew. Right. And it grew far bigger than what we thought it would. And with that comes pressure. And whilst I think I'm a good business person, I'm still self-taught. And I don't think I was the right person to take the Di Bella brand internationally. Now, some will argue that that's not the case. But to me, I don't think I was the right person to do that. It needed, someone like a multinational and to come along and be able to do that with a full team of it. And that's what happened. So we chose carefully who we sold to, and we sold to the Retail Food Group, who we thought was a perfect match for our brand. And now they're starting to grow the Di Bella brand, internationally. So it was a combination of the right timing of the right people wanting to buy the business and the fact that I didn't want to wear that pressure solo anymore.
On a really day-to-day sort of basis, how did it come about? Did you approach them? Did they approach you? Like, how did that connection first happen?
Well, we'd been approached a few years before by Retail Food Group, and then we'd been approached by other people in between. And at the time, it was just a chance discussion with a very good friend of mine, who's high up at BDO, and we spoke about what was next for me. And I said to him, "Kay, reach out to, if I was to sell, it'd be Retail Food Group, reach out to see if there's still an interest." And so he did. And within 4 hours in a meeting and 13 weeks later, the deal was done. It was a very effortless, seamless, well-timed, well-executed transaction by every party.
So it was meant to be?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, again, they're people, it was the right people at the right time. And you've got to know, Di Bella was still on this growth period, which is evident. I stayed on for the last 2.5 years, and we grew the business as a team 20% year on year.
Right.
And again, that's because of the amazing people involved across all facets.
And once you had that initial entrance, did you have to start doing anything to make your business attractive to buy in terms of structure, in terms of branding?
Oh, yeah, there was a lot of work. I mean, BDO, that's where BDO were fantastic. They had to come in here. They put a full-time person in here for 3 months to get everything together, because as everyone knows, especially listeners, when you start as a one-man band and you're one person and then you're growing, the last thing you do is make sure that you've got all your bookwork in order and all that stuff gets played second fiddle to actually looking after your customers and your products and stuff like that. So there was a lot to be cleaned up. But again, I just had really good people around me. And I can't stress that. I mean, I say to people now, what business are you in? And they rattle off lawyers and accountancy and plumbing and whatever.
Yeah.
You're actually in the people business.
Yeah.
So I say to people, just become an expert with people. Learn how to build relationships, learn how to emotionally engage with people, learn how to work with people, be authentic, in how you deal with people. If there's a problem, tell them. Let them tell you if there's a problem. And it's just general, what I call basics, is that everyone wants to feel valued, everyone wants to feel important. And to create something like Di Bella took a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it took a lot of excellent people. And even the people that were difficult helped us become excellent, because it taught us what not to do.
Yeah.
It showed us what we didn't want in the business. So at all times, I mean, it's always about people.
Did you ever have a challenge finding the right people?
Oh, you always got a challenge finding the right people. People are always going to be challenging. I can be challenging. I am challenging.
Yeah.
So it's a two-way street. It's not just other people that are challenging. And that's why I talk about the right fit.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't believe in resumes, because people walk in with resumes and I've never seen an honest one. Everyone's conscientious, hardworking, honest and all this until public holiday comes across on a Tuesday and they take the Monday off. All of a sudden they're not that honest and authentic anymore. We've all got stories as employers that tell that. But, hey, when I say if you can see bad staff members, have a look who the manager or the owner is. Because bad people that don't suit your business should be kept in the business.
Okay, so you got to move them on, I guess.
Well, I've never fired a person in my life. I've just asked them to leave.
Okay.
I've told them it's better for them to decide to leave than what it is for me to fire them.
Yep.
It's not a good look having me fire them. And I've had people give me 3 months' notice, 6 months' notice, 9 months' notice. It's all about keep spinning that Rubik's Cube. You've got to have aligned values with people. Their values have to align with you and your company values have to align with them.
How much time did you spend reinforcing your values through that period?
Every day. You never stop reinforcing your values, and you got to live your values. If I talk about being, I want people to respond to my emails within 24 hours, then I've got to make sure I do the same thing. If I say to people, I want you to communicate good, bad, and ugly, then I've got to make sure I do the same thing. So as a leader, I'm communicating constantly. I don't believe in closed doors. I don't believe in secrets. I share figures with the team. I let them know what we're doing. I let them know what our vision is. I let them know what the strategy is. I let them have their input to strategy. I have always had an innovations email where they can, or an ideas email where they can express their ideas at any time. It's always been this constant dialogue and communication with the people. And that's when I say the word team, I mean from every facet. They've helped. They hire their own staff. I've never hired the staff of the managers. The managers hire their own team. And
really?
They need to hire them with their team so that the whole team is happy with who gets employed. Just simple protocol, simple things like that really develop. And what you get at the other end is an amazing culture. You get a culture of engagement. You get a culture of efficiency. People love coming to work. They want to come to work. We had our dispatch team, and I tell this story all the time. Industry standard for distribution is 92 to 93%. That's excellence. Whilst I was at the helm of this business as an owner, and still post-ownership, but I was still the managing director until 30 June 2017, we were running at 98% and above default, delivered in full on time.
Yep.
Now, that is just outstanding for a company that's the biggest in what it does.
Yep.
The reward the team wanted, and they were asked, how do you want to be rewarded for excellence?
So you went to them and asked them that
Correct.
question. Okay.
And being a group of, strong Samoan and Tongan boys and all the rest of it down there, they didn't want more money. They were getting paid good money in their eyes because they're all on full time. They're paid well above the award. They've all got families. What they wanted is they wanted a weekly barbecue on a Friday.
Yep.
Every time they hit that record, they did 98% or more. And it's a tradition that continues to today. So that if they hit a default, a delivered in full on time rate of 98% or higher this week, next week they have a barbecue paid for by the company. Now, their barbecues, let's just say, are not your typical barbecue, right? You can imagine the boys can eat,
Yep.
and they appreciate good quality.
Yep.
But in saying that, it just shows that it wasn't the money that was important, and that they were comfortable with already what they're getting paid and they feel valued. But it was the camaraderie, it was the stopping work, getting together, cooking a barbecue. And what they do is they invite the rest of the team members. They don't just stay there in Insula. Everyone else at HQ gets an email saying, hey, barbecue's ready in half an hour if anyone wants to come down and join us.
Oh, so that division is responsible for getting the barbecue across the line in terms of their results,
Yep.
but they invite everybody else?
They invite it. It's their choice because the barbecue's for them.
Okay, got it. But they obviously do on a frequent basis. There
Correct.
seems to be a direct correlation between employee buy-in in terms of your business and where you're going, and the information that you're prepared to share with them. The more you share, the more they buy in, which is what you sort of alluded to before. And you're saying that's exactly what happened with...
Yeah, and the key to that, and I'm happy to share it now, the key to that is share what's relevant.
Okay.
They don't want to know everything.
Yeah.
Right? Nor do I want to share everything or hide everything. And it's not that I don't want to share anything for any secrecy. I don't want to be sitting down talking for 24 hours a day either. It's share what's relevant to the person.
Yeah.
And what people have forgotten in business as this whole world of fast technology and convenience is going out of control, our expectation gets out of control. And what I mean by that is we expect things quicker, we expect things better, we expect it cheaper. Our expectations are getting really out of control in this country, right?
Okay.
To the extent that somebody doesn't want to wait 3-4 minutes for a coffee anymore.
Yeah.
I saw a lady get shitty the other day in a cafe because there was 3 people in front of her. And she literally waited no more than probably 7 or 8 minutes for her coffee, and she still wasn't happy.
Yeah.
Now, it's technology that's driving that to us because you get used to what you get used to and you don't know what you don't know, right? So we're getting this whole speed-up economy where everything's so quick and we want something, we just grab it. We can find it out by Googling it. We can order it to our door. Amazon, when it comes, is going to be out of control because I've used it in America and it's an amazing business, but it's going to bring human behaviour issues with it.
Yeah.
Because we expect everything so quickly, yet we don't want to pay for what used to cost so much money. So this is a real danger of what's going on. Now, but the human behaviour hasn't changed. When somebody turns up to work and works for you and you're the boss in their eyes and own the business and they see that you're making money, they want to feel part of that.
Yeah.
Their expectation is that they want to feel part of it. And then they want to be appreciated. Now, I found that appreciation isn't money. From the example that I told you before. Depreciation is knowledge.
Yep.
Is what is our vision? Win as a team, lose as a team.
Yep.
I found that in 15 years of running Di Bella, building it and running Di Bella, that what meant so much to people was the human element, not the capital element. And then they don't care whether you're driving a fancy car or you're owning a nice house or the rest of it. What they care about is that they feel part of your journey, that they feel part of that success and that you're acknowledging and rewarding them for that as well.
What was the reaction, and I have no idea about this sale, particularly on the scale that you've been able to do it, what was the reaction of the employees in the business once you decided and announced, I guess, that you were selling?
Well, in spirit of everything that I've just said, obviously it was up to a public company, so there was a procedure that had to happen and a level of silence. But what we did was at 10:30 a.m., I'll never forget it, they were going to announce to the market. So Retail Food Group had to announce to the market first, and then we could announce. So at 10:30, I'd call the meeting to make sure everybody interstate was on Skype, and those that had headquarters were in the boardroom.
Yep.
And at 10:30 on the dot, I gave it 60 seconds, and at 10:31, I let the team know.
Okay.
And lucky for me, our Retail Food Group was running late, and they didn't actually announce to the market till about 20 to 11. So the first people to know were my team members.
Okay.
Now, again, it comes in with, we explained the vision, we explained the why, we explained. So my wife and I told them why we were selling. We told them that I'd be here till 2017, that there's a 2.5-year transition. We told them that nothing would change, and that I'd made sure of that through the contractual obligations of Retail Food Group, that I'd also been given their word, and they held their word. So they were kept informed every step of the way. They knew exactly why we sold, who we sold to, what the parameters were of selling. They understood exactly what was going on because we told them. We lost 0 staff members and we lost 0 customers.
That's almost unheard of, right?
Well, we planned. One of the things that I've always done is that I say, in good times plan for bad, at bad times plan for good, and always put yourself in the shoes of the opposite person. So I knew exactly what our competitors would try and do. I knew that the moment it went to market, the media would pick it up within seconds, and they did. I think by 11 o'clock there was about 100 articles written about it, Australia-wide.
Really?
Because of all the digital media and all the rest of it.
Yep.
100 articles written by Australia's biggest specialty coffee companies, just been absorbed by RFG and all sorts of stuff. So we knew that our customers would be visited by our competitors immediately.
Yep.
By 11 o'clock, our customers already had been given a video.
Okay.
Of myself explaining to them why I'd sold, how I'd sold, and that nothing would change.
Oh, so
and that they were only to leave. They were encouraged to leave us only if they felt that we changed anything. Why leave us if we haven't changed anything?
And the video obviously worked.
Correct, because our competitors were there by 11 o'clock.
Yep.
Trying to get the business, and not one person did we lose. And again, I put that down to amazing planning.
Yep.
And I put it down to amazing team members.
Who gave you that idea, the video idea?
I just did it. That was something I thought about.
Okay.
And how I came about is, again, I always look at where the problems can absorb. I can't remember what, I think it was 08 or 09, BRW wrote an article about how to survive the GFC. And I talked about, and I was listed in that top 10 advice. I think it was top 10 advice by business people. And mine was take a machine gun to your business. Not literally, but I constantly look at the business and say, where are the holes? So I spend 90% of my time, and it's something I used to share with the team all the time, 90% of my time as a managing director fixing 10% of the problems that exist.
Yeah, right.
And fixing it, I mean, being futuristic about it, having a look at where the possible problems are going to be, have a look at the solutions, plan 3 to 5 years in advance. That's where I spent my time as a managing director, which is where you should. A lot of managing directors today get stuck in the day-to-day operation of a business. And the moment that you're stuck in the day-to-day operation of the business, then nobody's looking at what's going on in the future. And I was having a discussion with a friend of mine who owns a very good fruit shop, and I said to him, you need to start looking now into virtual shopping.
Yep.
Because that's where it's going to go. In 3 to 5 years, people won't go to a fruit shop to buy fruit, and he's got an amazing business, but they're not going to come into store. They're going to want to look at it on an iPad, pretend they're in your store, and grab the items, because that's going to take them 5 minutes versus actually half an hour, 45 minutes to come into store. And yeah, there will still be people that want to touch, feel, smell, see, but where technology is going today, we are programmed, human beings are no different to computers. We program ourselves, and then there's a level of expectation.
Yep.
And that expectation revolves around convenience, speed. And I know, fortunate with my Italian heritage, the Italians still love the old-fashioned. Grow your veggies, make a beautiful, simple sauce. That you have a look at an Italian pizza, doesn't have everything on it like a cake here in Australia. That 7-Eleven isn't a successful business in Italy because people go to the butcher for their meat, they go to the fish shop for their fish, they go to the tobacconist for the cigarettes. Everything is done so, with precision because they enjoy the process.
Yeah.
What we don't have in Australia, and whether it's a positive or negative is up to the person, because everyone's different, is that we're all destination focused. Whereas when I go back to Italy and Europe, I'm reminded of the journey. Enjoy that journey. So the plate of pasta at the end is not exactly the part that you enjoy only. It's the whole lead up.
Yeah.
Picking the fresh basil, making the sauce from scratch, making the pasta from scratch, having a glass of wine while you're cooking. That's the difference. And so everything over there becomes an experience, and it becomes a process, a journey rather than a destination.
And how do you build that into your coffee now?
Well, again, some people want that, some people don't want that. I mean, the one thing we always said here, and that's why I opened to the public from day one, is I want people to come in, and if they want to, they're able to experience the entire process from crop to cup, which is what we became synonymous for in Australia, the concept of crop to cup. We want them to experience it if they choose to. But if they want to just come and have a coffee or buy a coffee, they're not to feel intimidated.
Okay.
Everything was about the customer. And what I mean by that is personalise the experience to the customer. There's customers that want to know everything.
Yeah.
There's customers that don't want to know everything. They just want to be served and get out.
Yeah.
You, if you're going to be an expert in what you do, has to identify what the customer's needs are. There is no one blanket fits all, because everybody's different. We all have different expectations, different tastes, and your job as the person getting paid to look after this customer, to give them what we call the ultimate coffee experience, has to identify what the customer's needs are. And that's why I've never believed in customer service. I've always talked about exceeding a customer's expectation. Okay. Because customer service is a concept that really says nothing. Of course, you've got to serve your customer. That's what you do. If you don't serve them, they get nothing. Yeah. But I can poorly serve my customer. So I can give poor customer service, good customer. But when I spin it around and I say, all I want you to do is exceed that customer's expectation, it changes the ballgame altogether.
Yeah, and so you come at it from a
completely
angle.
different angle.
Yeah. So you've built and you've sold the business. Mm-hmm. Do you remember the moment, and did you do anything special when the money hit the account?
Well, I was in Queenstown with my wife, and we've always dreamed about building a house in Queenstown. We first went there 12 years ago. We bought a block of land from the first visit. Lucky we did, because they're a lot more expensive now. On a beautiful spot in Queenstown Hill, and we always used to go over every year, sometimes 3-4 times a year, and dream about building this house. And at the time of settlement, because it was supposed to be here, and we went over for a good friend of ours' 20th wedding anniversary, and settlement got delayed. So I was actually in Queenstown, ironically, with my wife, having a beautiful bottle of champagne for friends of ours' 20th wedding anniversary when the settlement happened, and I got a picture sent to me with the cheques.
Oh, nice. So it was a cheque transaction.
Well, it was a cheque because of the size, so they were bank cheques because of the size of the transaction. So it was, let's just say, it was very, very heartwarming. It was a relief. It was never about the money. My financial goals have always been to have enough money to do what I want when I want as a family, for myself, my children, my wife, and we were able to achieve that with the business. So we did not sell because of the money. So it wasn't like we had a poor life and sell it because we got to cash up and pay off debts. And no, it was it was that pressure. It was that, that your children and people that have their own business know what it's like on any level.
Of course, yeah.
You don't see your kids, you miss the best time, years of... And you know what? We were fortunate enough to build a very good business. Everything lined up. The ducks lined up. We did extremely well. And we built a business that someone wanted to buy. I wasn't going to be arrogant to miss that opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think some people get arrogant about when the time is to sell. And to me, I wanted to spend more time with my children. They're now 9 and 7. I wanted to spend quality moments with them. So I was only ever going to be able to do that if I sold the business. Because when you own a business, no matter what size it is, you never stop thinking about it.
And has that time commitment factor changed a lot now?
Completely, yeah. I get to have every school holidays off. So I take my school holidays off. So that's, I take about 8 weeks a year off.
Right.
But when I go in between, I go hard.
Okay.
So I'm consulting back to Retail Food Group. Yep. I've got other stuff happening, but when I'm working, I'm working. So I'll and as the team know at Retail Food Group, or anyone that works with me, they'll get emails at 3 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock at night. It's to me, it's when something gets done, it's got to get done. So I don't expect them to work at the same time. The beauty of being a consultant is a lot of my work can be done at any time from anywhere.
Yeah.
And as long as I'm achieving those results that obviously I get paid to achieve.
In your busiest period, how many hours a night did you sleep out of interest?
6.
Okay.
I've always been a good sleeper.
Yep.
About 6 hours. So my ideal 7.
Yep.
But of course, there's times. Did I ever stay awake at night? Of course, plenty of times.
Yeah.
Did I ever stress to the point where no, I didn't think I did, but then along came anxiety a few years, probably about 6-7 years ago. My wife and her sister had opened up a cafe, and I was trying to help them a lot, and I was in the middle of the business was growing. This was probably 12 years ago when they started, and then a few years in of trying to keep that momentum, along comes the big A word, the anxiety. I thought everything was great, and I soon learned that anxiety is all about the body not keeping up with the mind. So the mind stops and the body says, no, we're still going.
Yep.
And you end up with panic attacks.
Yep.
At first I thought I was having a heart attack.
You're actually not the first person that I've spoken to who has had or explained similar things. So this is quite interesting.
Yeah, and that's what happened. I was sitting down to eat at 10:30 at night one night and short of breath, and I was like, oh, shit, I'm having a heart attack, And I was very fit then too. Another toll of, working long hours is, something's got to give. And obviously, I still get to the gym once a week if I'm lucky. Now I've got a lot more time, which will be my next focus, will be getting back in shape. But I remember at the time I was healthy. I was good. And I sit down to eat, and I have this panic attack, which I didn't know at the time, and thought I'm having a heart attack. And shortness of breath, the heart's racing. Anyway, after getting checked out top to bottom, you find out it's called anxiety.
Yep.
And basically, it's when your mind stops and your body doesn't. It reacts in an adverse way.
Right.
And some people that aren't mind strong or that can really decompartmentalise their brain really struggle with it. You know? And it never goes away. But just now the difference is I know when it's coming. So it doesn't, so I can stop it. So I know if I'm pushing too hard or if I haven't got to the gym to do a workout. So I got into boxing over the last 6-7 years, and that's helped a lot.
Yep.
Because you get that, not anger, because I've never been an angry person, but you get that excess energy out. You get that, the body's doing its thing. And obviously the school holidays now, having every school holiday off helps to relax the brain, taking time out. So meditating. So learning new things. I mean, people talk to me about work-life balance. It doesn't exist. One of the best tips I can give people is stop trying to chase balance, because it's not going to happen. You're not going to have 8 hours to work on yourself, which is personal, 8 hours to work on your family life, and 8 hours to work on professional. It doesn't exist. It's work-life harmony. Okay. And I found that I was at my happiest when everything's in harmony. And what I mean by that is when I was growing the business, my family and my body didn't have the same amount of time to be, to have devoted to it.
Yeah.
So business was thriving. So then if I wanted to keep in shape, I had to take a little bit away from business and spend that time with obviously being at the gym and playing sport. And I was playing soccer, training twice a week and playing games on Friday. Of course, when I got flat out in business, that stopped.
Yep.
And then when you're flat out in business and you start to grow interstate, the family part starts to suffer.
Yep.
So then you start to have family issues. And, and I'm proud to talk about the good and bad and ugly, is that, I'm not Superman. And so I've had all sorts of, I've had family issues, I've had weight issues, I've had business issues, because you can't get balance, you only get harmony. And the moment that I had no issues was when I gave family time the time it needed, when it needed.
Yep.
I gave business the time when it needed it, and I've given myself the time when it needed it. And that's when I've always felt at my happiest. So my advice is stop chasing balance and really work in a harmonious state. And if it's business that needs your time and effort and attention right now, then understand that. Make sure the people around you understand that, and don't be hard on yourself with the other two. And if it's family that needs your attention, then understand that something's got to give from the other two. Because all our lives are split into 3: family, professional, and personal.
And you're not afraid to get out of balance at times when it's necessary.
Totally. Well, again, if you follow that concept, you always be out of balance, but you'll always be in harmony.
Yeah, fair point, yeah.
Balance is equal parts of all, And so what I'm saying is you're not going to be in equal parts.
Understand,
so chase harmony, don't chase balance.
Okay. And is that managed through communication on a real practical day-to-day level?
Especially with my wife and my family, even my kids. I communicate to them.
Yep.
Okay, I'm on school holidays now. We just came back from Hawaii, school holidays.
Yep.
Kids, what do you want to do? You tell me, Dad's with you. You want to go swim? You want to go play frisbee? You want to go to the games room, play the pinnies? Whatever it is you want to do, within reason, of course. They're not spoiled brats.
Yep.
Let's go and do what you want to do. I'm with you.
Yep.
Right? If I need to do some work, I say, Dad needs an hour this afternoon to put aside to do this. But what dominates my life for those 2 weeks is, like just now, is my family.
Okay.
And so I feel harmonious, right? Constantly I've got to communicate. So my wife knows that the day before we're going back to school, the kids get the talk. What do you appreciate most about the last 2 weeks? What was a standout for you?
Oh, yeah? You review that?
Yeah, totally. Now are you ready for the next 9 weeks? It's a 9-week term. Our next holidays will be off to Queenstown.
Yep.
You've got 9 weeks to go hard. Now it's time to focus on school.
So you're trying to teach that philosophy of all in, all out.
Correct. Well, the harmony concept, right?
Yep.
Yeah, we're on holidays now. That's your focus.
Yep.
Now you're back to professional. So their professional life is work.
Yep.
Is school. Mine's work.
Yep.
Dad's back at work. Dad's got to go hard. You're back at school. You go hard. That's your work. When it comes to holidays, that's family time.
And I'm going to assume that if they're properly focused on and appreciated during those times, they're more than happy to let you go if
Completely.
You're in New York. I suppose you've got to travel to New York. You're travelling around the world, and they're okay to...
Totally. And even, and of course they still miss you and they go, oh, you're going away? I am. However, remember our rule? Daddy, you're going hard at school. Daddy's going hard at work. Then you've got Dad in the next holidays.
And being, you said, 9 and 7, how quickly did they understand that? How do they deal with it? Does it work well?
Oh, look, every child's got a personality, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So there's no rule for everyone. It works well with us. I mean, my wife is an amazing communicator.
Right.
So she's constantly communicating to the kids and talking to them. We've never spoken baby language to them. It's always been a conversation from the day they were born.
Yeah.
So we're fortunate, not fortunate, it is what it is. Our kids are very good communicators. Do they have their moments? Of course they do, like anyone. But, when you've got a 7-year-old saying, listen, I just need a minute, it'll pass, but I need some time alone.
Right.
I think, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Is that the kid understands, I need some breakout time on my own. Don't break my chops, just leave me alone.
Yeah.
As frustrating as it can be sometimes,
I have young kids myself, and I ask about this. Most people I speak to, for a selfish reason, really, because mine are nearly 3. I've got twins.
Now's the important part.
Well, you start thinking about the future and how you're going to organise yourself and plan out and all that sort of stuff. So I'm really interested to see how these things come together, because
it's constant communication.
That's the key.
It's from now.
Right.
You're programming them. They say that they learn their most from 0 to 12.
Yeah.
Especially around that year 2 when they start to learn, from 2 years old when they start to learn to speak. That's the most important time, because they can absorb so much information so quickly. We had our kids at age 5 doing vision boards.
Okay.
And pictures, because they learn with pictures. What does your car look like when you get older? What does your work life look like? Who do you want to be? What's your attitude look like? What's the family look like? It's just amazing to see, what happens. Kids are like a tool, right? And I don't mean that in a bad way. Tools can be used in many different ways. Kids are just so versatile. They're so intelligent. They're born that way because they're born to learn. Otherwise, they don't learn how to speak. They don't learn how to walk. They don't learn how to talk. Their learning capacity is just extraordinary.
Yeah. No, I agree.
So, what we're telling them, telling our kids no, don't, 500 times a day is programmed to breed anxiety. And I used to do that until I came across and my wife said, let's talk to our kids in terms of, if you walk on that rock wall, what could happen to you? Versus get off that, you'll fall.
Yeah.
So it's the positive programming versus the negative programming. Because let's face it, and until my wife Jana brought it to my attention, that's what I did so well with Di Bella. That's what I did with the team. She goes, you do it so well with your team, we need to transfer that with the kids.
Oh, okay. So she made that observation.
Yeah. So let's not tell the kids, because, you've created these little humans, so you get protective by it. It's normal.
Of course.
You created them, they're yours. Well, you think they're yours, even though we're just custodians of them. It's hard not to get possessive of them and say, and wrap them in cotton wool. But we're not doing them any favours.
Yeah.
And I think that's what government gets wrong. If different extreme, but that's what government gets wrong. They want to wrap everyone in cotton wool. Don't wear a helmet and we'll fine you. Well, how about you don't wear a helmet and you have an accident, you pay your own health care? You know, if you smoke and you go to the doctors with lung cancer, you pay your own health benefit. Even me, I'm overweight. You're overweight. You've got, this is related to being overweight. The public shouldn't have to pay for you. You should have own health care, which I do.
Yeah.
Like it, you know, simple things like this, and people go, "Oh, that's rough." Well, no, it's not. What it's actually doing is programming people to be responsible.
Yeah.
It's programming people to say, "Well, hang on, I have a choice. Why should I be a burden to anybody else because I've made the wrong choice?"
Yeah. Yeah, there's just there's that sort of entitlement mentality, isn't it, where it shouldn't really be like that.
We're breeding dum-dums, mate. I mean, to put it honest, we are breeding dum-dums. We're breeding people to be stupid because of just small things. Like, little things, like don't wear a seatbelt and we'll fine you. How's that positive programming? You know, don't wear a seatbelt, you have an accident, the healthcare system's not going to cover.
Yeah.
You watch how quickly people pay attention to that. But what that does is we teach people to be rational. We teach people to self-identify. We teach people to be aware.
Yeah.
You know, all the things of we teach emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Emotional intelligence can be taught, right? And I think if you said, what's the silver bullet? Let's make people in this country a lot more emotionally intelligent. And if we do that, I think we'll have a better country, a better society, you know, full stop. You know, people here, they get impatient, they beep somebody in the road in front of them.
Yeah.
I mean, come to India with me on business or China, and they never stop beeping over there.
Yeah.
And they're not beeping because they're beeping to let each other know what's going on whilst they're driving.
Yeah.
You want to see a pothole, come to India and see how many potholes. Like, my tolerance level is so far greater because I travel to all these places. So when I come here, I don't get impatient. Someone cuts me off, they don't need to cut me off. I let them in.
Yeah.
I can see that they want to come in.
Yeah.
Not I speed up to what, gain a car length?
Yeah.
Like, these are the things, that's the emotional intelligence, which is all about awareness, consciousness, empathy, you know, motivation. This is the concepts of emotional intelligence. And you'll find that people that travel have got a higher level of emotional intelligence, or most of them.
So you recommend that for education?
Oh, for sure. You know, a few years ago when what's his name, decided to give everyone $1,000 and take all the money out of reserves to stimulate the economy.
TV,
he stimulated the economy. The only thing he stimulated was what we've got now, which is a shithole of an economy because all the money went overseas.
Yeah.
You know, I can tell you, the people in Queenstown were saying, what's going on over there? You know, we're getting that many people from Australia visit. Well, the government just handed over $1,000 to each person. That's what happened.
I wanted to ask about money. I think I heard in an interview or read that you're son of immigrants. And the reason that immigrants do so well in Australia is because they come here, they spend the first 10 years of their lives working, and they don't spend money on dumb stuff.
Yeah, very true.
Would that be sounded financial advice for anyone looking to sort of play a little bit above average?
Yeah, very sound advice. Look, it's basic economics, which they don't teach at school. You know, earn more than you spend, you know, and if you want to spend more, earn more.
Yeah.
And my brother, who's 13 years older than me, he used to work 3 jobs. Why? He got married at 19 and he had twins on his 21st birthday. So he worked 3 jobs.
Because he had to.
Because he had to.
Yeah.
And because they didn't go without. I didn't go without. I was son of migrants. I didn't go without.
Yeah.
But Dad worked 2 jobs.
Yeah.
And he didn't own a flashy car. The only time he's ever owned a brand new car is when I bought one for him. Right? And
right. What did you buy him out of interest?
Well, I bought him a little, what was it called? A Ford, one of those small Fords. But now I bought him a second one. He's got a Mazda 3.
Right.
So I bought him 2 brand new cars. I never owned a brand new car.
Okay.
But this is a man who went to work every day, paid for my university, paid for my tennis, which was not cheap because I was playing, you know, as a professional, as a junior, you know, tennis. So of course I'd do what I can for my parents, you know, and did that. But he went to work and did 2 jobs so that we never went without. We ate the best food, but we never went on holidays. Meaning we'd go to the Gold Coast with our cousins, but never overseas. None of that.
Yeah.
Why? Because something's got to give. So we ate great food. We had amazing times with relatives and parties and the rest of it. But I played tennis. And when I say tennis, back when I was 8 years old, between 8 and the age of 8 and 14, a pair of my tennis shoes were $200 a pair.
Yeah.
My dad used to earn $450 a week.
Yeah, wow.
And a pair of shoes were $200. And I needed one every 3 months because I was playing 6 days a week.
Yeah.
Other families, because tennis was an expensive sport.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's actually cheaper now to play tennis than what it was back then.
Yeah.
The rackets are cheaper.
And the shoes are still $200
well,
a pair.
Well, the shoes are about $100 a pair now, right? I used to have rackets from Kmart, $20, $30 each. Everyone else had Prince rackets at $200, $300. Something had to give.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas what's happened today is no one wants to give anything. They want to go out, they want to drink, they want to eat, they want to party, they want a holiday, they want a house. Hey, basic maths. And I'll teach my kids that now. Right now, we give our kids, there's no such thing as pocket money. You know, you tell us what you want to do around the house, identify opportunities to make money, and we'll pay you.
Oh, that was one of my questions, actually. How does someone who's been in, and I know some of these things aren't always accurate, but you've been listed in BRW, you're worth of 100 million.
Mm-hmm.
So how does someone with that sort of money go about educating their kids? And you've still got jobs at home which they earn money for. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, rule number one is you don't worry about what you're worth.
Yep.
Right? Because I've got 2 arms, 2 legs and a heartbeat like most people in the world. So I don't care what I'm worth. Because my worth is all about having enough money to do what I want when I want. Part two is that my wife and I made our wealth.
Yes.
Our kids have got to make their wealth. Right? And yes, while they have a bigger security blanket, and that's the best advice I can provide, is that families with wealth provide their kids with a security blanket rather than handouts.
Mm-hmm.
It is more important for us to teach them the values of money. And so we do that with, like I said, there's no pocket money. You don't do things because you're getting pocket money. You do things because you're part of a family.
Yep.
You need money, we'll give you money, but what for? So you make an argument. So if they want a new app for one of their games, they've got to say what they're going to do above and beyond to get that app.
Right. So it's a $7.99 conversation or whatever it is.
That's exactly right. What are you going to do for that?
Yeah.
Or, so you are teaching them many things. You're teaching them responsibility, accountability, negotiation. So you're teaching them to negotiate. And I don't say I've got the perfect formula, probably far from it. But what I do know is that our kids don't expect things to just be handed to them just because they see nice cars, nice houses, all the rest of it. They know that they've got to work for what they have. They talk about what they're going to do for work now. My daughter talks about, building stuff and selling it.
Yeah.
She doesn't talk about, I'm coming to work. And one of the great things about selling the company is they certainly don't talk about, I'm coming to work for Daddy's empire, which I think is one of the most detrimental frames you can never use, right? I'm coming to take over your empire. Well, one, what's an empire? And two, take over what? You got to work your own way up and work, create your own magic in life. Be better than what I was.
Yeah.
Don't worry about what I did. Go and be the best you can be. I don't want my kids looking at me, whilst I want them to be proud of me, I don't want them looking at me and saying, I want to be dad. I want them to say, I want to be better.
Have they ever worked for you in this?
No, too young, mate. They'd put me in jail.
Oh, I meant from a, sweep the office point of view or something like that.
I know, definitely. They come in here and they pick up rubbish if there's stuff on the floor or, or wash cups and stuff like that, definitely.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've got a venture that with one of my ex-staff members that's now left here since I've gone, and she's opening a business and told them, you'll be going there to do a few hours washing dishes. I don't care if you have to stand on a milk crate. You're going to go and do it, and you're going, and they're looking forward to it. There's none of this. I don't need to do that. I mean, everyone's got to do their bit. Again, money doesn't define a person. It's a tool, and it makes things easier in certain times, but it can make things harder in certain times. It's like a scalpel.
Yeah.
You can use money for good. You can use money for bad. You can use a scalpel for good. You can use a scalpel for bad.
Yeah.
And that's why, as a kid, I always wanted to be on that young rich list.
Oh, why? So that was a goal for me.
It was a goal. And the reason it was a goal was a driving factor is because I was a son of migrants. Yeah. My dad used to have to go work on a Sunday because it paid double time. Mm-hmm. And I said, it was a driving force for me. I want to have enough money to do what I want when I want. And one of the benchmarks was seeing a list like this, and I want to make that list. I can't remember what age I was when I was on it for the first time. 30-something, 30 or 32. And I was on it for 8 years, 9 years, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But again, it did. After the first 2 years, it lost its appeal. And I remember and I'm not being ungrateful. It just is what it is. I had a friend ring me, and it shows that the list didn't mean anything to me because it was just something that I wanted to strive for. And after that, but I remember a friend ringing me. They'd extended the age. It used to be under 40s. So at 39, I thought that's it. I'm done and dusted now. Yeah. And then at 40, I get a phone call. I was 40 and I had a phone call and the list came out and I hadn't even looked at it. A friend of mine says, "Oh, congratulations, you're the richest Queenslander that's self-made 40 and under." And I said, "I think you got the wrong person. I'm 39 now. The list finishes at 39. He goes, "Oh no, they've extended it to 40 now. So it's 40 and under.
You got another year.
And you're on it and you're the highest ranked Queenslander on it." And I was like, "Oh, great." And he said, "Are you not excited?" I said, "No."
You really were?
Yeah, and, well, not at all. I mean,
Okay.
because the aspiration was to, it's like saying I want to go to the Maldives. I've been waiting all my life to go to the Maldives. You go the first time, it's the most exciting time of the world, right? You go the second time, it's exciting, but you go every year, it's human behaviour. It's not that you're not appreciative.
Yeah. Yes.
It wears off, right?
Yep.
The beauty of that sort of stuff fades.
So how does the rich list work? You just get you work away and one day you get a phone call. Do you have to? How does it come
I don't
together?
know, mate. They look,
roughly?
and they don't always get it right. There's probably people that should be on the list that aren't on the list. It's not it is. People go, what's funny, and this is where the tall poppy syndrome is. Mm-hmm. The people that go, "Oh, look at that wanker, he's on the list." Well, what'd you buy the publication for?
Yeah, that's right.
The reason they do it is because you buy the publication.
Yeah.
I never bought the publication.
Yeah, right.
Like, not once did I buy the publication.
Okay, so it's not in a frame at home or anything like that. Just doesn't mean it. Okay.
No.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, no. The first one is in a frame because
that was a goal that you had.
That was the goal.
Right.
But then I don't even have copies of the rest.
Okay.
So the first one's in a frame.
Yeah.
And I didn't put it in a frame. My team members did. I've still got it in
Nice.
in my office. It's got good to great.
Oh, yep. Right.
And they put good to great, and they put the cover of the first edition and a photo of me and my wife Jana,
Yep.
and they framed and gave it to us for Christmas, I think it was. But again, after that, I haven't framed any of them. Don't even have copies of them. It's not that I'm unappreciative. I appreciate it. We worked our asses off to be worth whatever we're worth.
Yep.
It's just that never defined who we are. It's like awards. We've won awards for all sorts of stuff. Awards, to me, are all about celebrating where you've come from.
Yeah.
But they don't define where you're going.
Okay.
And we've won awards for corporate citizenship, for doing great stuff with community, right through to managers here winning awards for what they've achieved, to the Golden Bean, which is the highest esteemed awards for the quality of coffee. We've won that twice. Okay. Again, awards to me are all about benchmarking the past and celebrating the past, but they're not a defining moment of who you are moving forward. Because one thing that really gets me is when people go, "I've been doing this for 30 years. Well, are you going to be here in 30 years' time? It's okay to look in the revision mirror and appreciate that and acknowledge it and reward it and celebrate it because I'm into that. But what are you doing looking forward?
Okay.
Don't think that you're great and you're going to be great in 30 years because you've been here for 30 years now. That's not the way life works, right? Because Nokia thought they were great too. So did Kodak, and we can give 100 companies that thought they were great that don't exist.
Absolutely. If we can go right back to the start, one of the great things that I loved about looking into your story was that it wasn't a last $5 all money in kind of deal, was it? That is sort of a bit romanticised in the press. We've heard a number of versions of that sort of thing. Yeah. But you had a job, you bought a house, you paid off the house, and then you saved your first quite $5,000. It's pretty widely reported. You started in your garage.
Yep.
What did the first 12 months look like?
Terrible. You go from job security to owning a house to your parents thinking you're fucking stupid. I remember Dad. He doesn't talk a lot of English, but he knows how to say fucking stupid. And you're going, shit, am I really done the right thing? But then you got this amazing woman who wasn't my wife at the time. We were going out. That turns around and says, "Why should you sell your skill to somebody else? You're very talented in what you do." I was working for Cosmopolitan Coffee, which was her father.
Yeah.
It was a cafe. I built a whole wholesale business for him. He was unappreciative. He didn't know what he was doing, whether he was coming or going. So I was never going to make my mark there. So I made the decision with my wife to go and do my own thing.
Right.
And did I question it first 12 months? Of course I did. But as I said, I had my house paid off. I had the $5,000, which is all I was willing to risk, and that's where I talk about my risk management plan still being the best in the world, and that is be comfortable with your worst possible scenario, which a lot of people share the same thoughts that I do.
Yep.
If you're comfortable with the worst possible thing, that's your best risk management plan. If you're comfortable, don't let anything hold you back. But that first 12 months was now, and obviously I reflected on it probably 10 years after it, was really difficult. It wasn't difficult at the time. You're a lot younger, you got the energy, my safety blanket, well, I've got a house, I can always go work for someone else. So my worst possible scenario wasn't do, die, go broke. So my story's not famous because I spent every last cent.
Yeah.
the story became great because I did start it with $5,000. But I had a security blanket, which was the apartment.
Which you'd built previous.
Which I built previously. So to me, where's the concept come out of that? Is make sure that when you're ready to step forward and move forward, you've got solid foundations.
Yep.
And I had solid foundations. Whereas a lot of what happens today is everyone wants to, I've got an idea. You can't make money on an idea alone. I know many people got ideas, don't know how to execute.
Yep.
I know a lot of chefs that can cook one great plate of food, but the moment they've got to cook for 100 in a 4-hour period, they're finished.
Yeah.
So it's the execution that's more important than the idea.
Yep.
Right? And what happened in that 1 year, the first year, is I learned how to keep spinning a Rubik's Cube. Because to start with, we weren't going to supply anything but just great coffee. Great coffee, great price. That was our point of difference.
Okay.
I learned very quickly that no, they want branding. They want barriers, they want umbrellas. I had to give that.
Yep.
I then learned quickly they want training. I learned quickly that cafe owners were actually doing it very tough and needed support and wanted to talk to people. And the suppliers were just supplying goods. So I seized on that opportunity. Yep. So that first 12 months, every time that something was negative or not right or somebody said no, I paid more attention to the no's than I did the yeses.
Okay.
And I asked why. Why do you not want to use me? And every why that came back, I turned into strategy. So
if you went back next time, you get them.
Correct. And so we built some of the best businesses, like our online business. That was from asking people why they buy coffee from a supermarket. Why don't you buy from us and you buy from a supermarket? Convenient. Convenience. Mm-hmm. Shit, how am I going to make coffee convenient? How about if I roast it fresh and deliver it direct to your door? And if you order over $50, it's free.
I was going to say, I thought I read that you do free shipping too.
We do.
Yeah.
And they said, we'd buy from you in a heartbeat. Bang. We built one of Australia's largest online businesses that's still going strong today.
Yeah.
But it came out of problem solving.
Yeah.
So it came out of identifying problems and building strategies to overcome it. And that's what I learned in the first year of business, was how to overcome problems, how to keep spinning a Rubik's Cube until everything matches.
So then do you start looking for problems to solve
All the time.
Once you get this little track?
All the time. That's how I look at new businesses now. I get startups presenting to me all the time. What problem are you solving? Someone's going to open a cafe. What problem are you solving? If it's just another cafe, no one gives a shit.
And what do you look for in a business that you're reviewing or you get pitched?
They solve the best problems, and they're backed by amazing people with the right attitude. And the attitude is everything. Right. Because what gets you up out of bed is not your intellect. What gets you up out of bed is your attitude.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? It's not how smart you are. It's how determined and resilient you are. So I wasn't the smartest person in the world and still aren't, far from it. Mm-hmm. But I'm very resilient.
Okay.
And that's where the concept of entrepreneurialism comes in. I don't believe in entrepreneurs. It doesn't exist. It's entrepreneurial intelligence. It's an intelligence. It's not a title. And I'm very widely quoted about talking about that. And there's a book out that Alan Bonsall wrote about entrepreneurial intelligence. It's an intelligence. It's not a title. And what I did was the concept of just keep spinning and creating your own resources to solve a problem.
Right.
And entrepreneurs look at things different. And that's where, it's not a title. The person with entrepreneurial intelligence says, I can do that different or better, but I can create my own resources. And that's what they do.
Did you consider yourself a brand expert before Di Bella? You mentioned brand before.
Yeah, never.
So that was a learned through experience deal?
Well, I haven't done... The only experts to me that exist are people that have done their 10,000 hours of practical experience. I had a degree in marketing and HR. I wasn't a marketing and HR expert until I'd done 10 years at Di Bella.
Okay.
And that's more than 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
To me, it's 10,000 hours and plus, and they've proven that that's actual methodology, right? You can't... All these people call themselves, they finish a university degree and they're a financial planning expert. Well, show me what you've done with your finances.
Yeah.
Or they're an expert in consulting. These politicians, most of their advisors are under 25. What are you going to advise to I've done a degree in political science, really. What date were the textbooks? 1970s, 1980s? The world's a different place. And that's what I was like at university.
Yeah.
I challenged university all the time. That you're teaching me from a textbook that's written in the 70s. These are the 90s, man. You're teaching me from something that was 20 years ago.
So before you worked at Cosmopolitan, you went to university. You completed
a degree.
University?
Yeah, I've got a degree in commerce.
How do the students that you now talk with receive this message?
Oh, they love it. Like one of the guys I went to uni with, Cameron Robinson, owns a really good jewellery, very successful jeweller's shop, Bruce Robinson Diamonds. And he's not just a jeweller's shop, he trades diamonds, he does all sorts of stuff. Very talented at what he does.
Yep.
And he was an amazing student.
Yep.
I was a shit-house student. You had to do assignment together and I felt sorry for the guys. but way smarter than me. In terms of book smart and all the rest of it, a lot more dedicated. Like I'd leave the group assignment. It was a 6-month assignment. I said, I've got to go to work. And they carried me through it. But, we're still friends to this day. And, he runs a very successful business and I went on to own successful business and, he's no smarter than me and I'm no smarter than him. And, we've both done well in our own fields. But I was not a good university student,
right,
because I saw the bigger picture out there.
Yeah.
I wanted to get that practical experience. Plus, I wanted to make money. And that's why I didn't come out with a HECS debt because Dad paid for it. Dad paid for my university. But that's why I was able to save for an apartment. If my parents hadn't paid for my university, there's no way I can save to buy an apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was working from the age of 15.
So those sort of core money values, they were instilled very, very, very
instilled
early on.
But reminded. I had good people around me. I had an older brother, older sister. I had older cousins. My parents, very wise. Dad's sayings, I look back now, hang around people smarter than you. When it's hot, don't go to the beach, go to work. When it's cold, don't sleep in, go to work.
Yep.
All these very wise, sayings, acronyms, whatever you want to call it. Very wise father, very, very active with their children, meaning conversations.
Okay.
So having conversations with me, especially being the youngest. And then I was fortunate my brother and my sister were a lot older. My brother's 13 years older, my sister's 11 years. So they would have conversations with me. So I actually had good people around me,
So you were going to work out okay by default, really, if you had all that. I say that in a joking way, but you know what I mean, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, look, I'm very appreciative and grateful. I've always, and I think that's probably Dad is very grateful. He's grateful that he came from Italy to here, rather than complain. It's positive mindset. You know what it is? It's growth mindset versus fixed mindset. And that's something that I've found is important in people, is try and have people around you that have got a growth mindset.
Yeah.
And I've had people around me that have had fixed mindset, and reflecting back now, they're not around me anymore. Is that if you've got a growth mindset, you'll ultimately end up with people around you that are the same.
Do you find that through teaching you learn faster?
Oh, totally, you have to. Because if I'm going to go and teach, I need to have, so it's knowledge out, knowledge in.
Yeah. I want to ask if there's anything you do outside of work that you feel allows you to perform best while working. And I'm not sure if this would be your answer or not, but I was wondering if you could explain the technique that I read that you normally meditate while flying. Do you still do that?
Yep, I do. I used to hate flying. I used to get, it's actually when my anxiety used to kick in the most, because the body stops and the mind's going and the body, so the mind stops and the body's just going, come on, what are you sitting down for? This is not what we're supposed to do. So I used to get panic attacks on planes. And so then I hated flying, which is not a good thing when you're on a plane every week.
Yep.
And then I learnt the art, and Jana, my wife, introduced me to the meditation. So I meditate on a plane. First thing I do on a plane, and people know that when they fly, if they ever fly with me for the first time, they go, don't talk to him. They set the advice, like my wife or someone will tell them, don't talk to Phil when you get on the plane because you'll be talking to yourself. And the kids know that. So if it's a short flight, it's different. But even on a short flight, I still want to meditate, right? But the kids are like, oh, Daddy's asleep before we even take off. Well, it's not that I'm asleep. I'm actually meditating.
Yeah.
It's something I do. I do it at least 3 nights a week when I get into bed.
Okay. Yeah.
And the kids do it now. So the kids will do it at least once a week.
Awesome,
kids meditation.
Yeah. Like that.
It really is because, and I don't know the ins and outs, my wife knows more about it, but it's a bit like it's the regrowth of the brain. It's what actually helps us regrow our brain, funny enough.
So that's how you think about it when you're doing it?
Yeah,
I'm
recharging.
Right.
Yeah. To me, I'm a very visual person, right?
Yeah.
So I'm an auditory and visual learner.
Yeah.
I'm not a reader or a writer, right?
Right, okay.
And so therefore auditory and visual is how I learn. My son's a lot like that.
Yep.
And my daughter, whereas she's quite talented, she learns from both ways.
Okay.
So she's got a mum and a dad in it. My son's more like me in terms of how he learns. And so when I'm seeing it or hearing it, that's what happens. And hearing it with the audio is perfect. It transcends me. So I'm looking at it, I'm visualising my brain recharging itself. And I notice sleeping patterns. So I'll wake up every 3 hours or 4 hours, which is twice to go to the toilet. But if I've meditated, there's a good chance I'm only going to get up once.
Okay.
I'll have a deeper sleep.
So there's direct, I meditate.
Yeah,
that's what happens?
I'll sleep longer in a block.
Okay.
Yeah. So, it's just fascinating. And I mean, it does recharge. And also good for anxiety.
Yep.
So,
So you've noticed a real reduction in
Totally.
that now. And what do you do if you find it coming on? How do you get out of it? Is that a build up over like
Breathing.
a couple of weeks?
It's breathing.
It's all breathing.
Yeah. I can tell I start to get jittery.
Yeah.
I start to get anxious. And so and you meditate or you breathe. You don't even have to get to meditation stages. Just breathing, slowing it all down. I'll go and do a boxing workout. Go and do a nice 45, 60-minute session, which boxing's pretty full on.
Yeah.
And that'll just release all the extra tension and stuff like that. So I don't take tablets and stuff like that. Don't take sleeping tablets and other that's.
Yeah.
But again, everyone, like I said, I talk to people and everyone's got some sort of form of anxiety or that. It's just that some people deal with it better, some people don't. Some people don't deal with it at all. Some people don't realise they've got it.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's anxious at some point of their lives.
We had it for a little while before you recognised, as I understand it correctly.
Totally. Didn't know what it was. It used to freak me out.
Just a few more questions,
That's fine.
Phil, and then we'll wrap up, mate. If you click your fingers, have it all done, 10 years' time, where do you sit?
10 years' time, I would have loved to be sitting here with you saying that my latest project was it was based around accelerating people's potential, and especially around children. So it was a centre built where, we send our kids to indoor soccer, we send our kids to tennis or whatever, that I'd built a centre with my wife where parents would send their kids for 2 hours a week to do brain-based training, mind-based training, where they would, learn how to meditate, they would learn how to visualise, plan, strategise, deal with everyday life, open bank accounts, stuff like that. So, and accelerate your potential, getting the foundations of a person right so that they can accelerate their potential when they're ready for that big world. So,
I love that video that you posted the other day. I forget what it's called, with the privilege.
Yeah, the privilege with the $100 note. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very.
It's funny.
perspective.
Some idiot wrote one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. Right. And I don't get upset by that. I wrote back and I said, "They're strong views. I'm interested in why you have those strong views."
Right.
Never responded. And I wasn't being facetious. I'm being honest.
Yep.
That's a strong view to have over something like that.
Yeah.
So tell me. And so what have I actually done with that comment is I've made them reflect.
Yeah. And
Is this deep-seated anger, or is this? I bet you. And there's probably a good chance that person was the guy on the starting line still at the end of those questions.
Could have been, yeah. Do you get a lot of backlash comments through your social media at all?
No,
Not at all?
No, even when I was stupid and posted that, the stuff about the state of origin, and that was a learning curve for me. I didn't realise I had that was a learning curve for me, right? That was my fault. No one to blame. Me.
So you posted so I understand, you posted some comments about the refs, was it? Or about football?
Yeah. No, my language was terrible.
During the State of Origin?
During the State of Origin, that went on Facebook, which one of the team here, but unbeknown to me, had linked to my Twitter account. I didn't even know I had a Twitter account, but they managed it internal. So long story short, politician grabbed it and tried to use it against the Lord Mayor about saying these are the type of people you put in your team, and it all blew up in the media.
Telstra pull the...
Yeah, and that was around the same time they'd awarded the company, not me, the company, the Medium Business of the Year award for Queensland, which we would have won Australia-wide, as the judges told me.
Yep.
You were a hands-down winner for the national, and they weren't impressed that it got pulled, and I won't mention names, but they weren't, because, one, it wasn't my award, it wasn't a personal award. That award belonged to the Di Bella team.
Yep.
Had nothing to do with me. I didn't even get interviewed for it.
Yep.
The team took the interview. They showed them around. They did the 55-page submission, whatever it was. Had nothing to do with me. And don't worry, Telstra copped the gobful from me because of that reason. Punished me. But how dare you punish them? That award belongs to them. And in fact, they never took the award off them. They just didn't recognise it in the public. The award stayed here. The physical award stayed.
Right, okay.
Because what are you going to take away? A frame? But... yeah, that was a learning curve for me, and that was when probably a moment of complacency, where I never thought, to start with, I never thought that I had that public profile. I knew I had a public profile, but I didn't realise that my public profile was to the extent that, commenting on a Facebook regardless of how terrible the language was, and it was terrible. And it wasn't alcohol. Like, I was conscious when I was writing those words. I didn't realise that it would cause such havoc. And no one needs to, it's not like I made the mistake and I was the only one that was affected, because you can deal with that.
Yeah.
Right? But my actions affected other people. And that was the hardest part.
Yeah.
So then, obviously, that made me very savvy on, being very conscious on what you do and you don't do, especially on social media and stuff like that. So, yeah, it was definitely a learning curve. It was a learning curve, and it was a reflective moment that was like, and I didn't have any anger towards anyone. I didn't even feel angry towards Telstra, even though I told them they're a bunch of muppets, because the award wasn't mine. They're actually penalising the wrong people for it.
You talk a lot about personal brand. When you say that, do you think that in the future that an online presence in terms of like an influencer is kind of the in word at the moment is going to replace what, in terms of importance, what we used to think of as business reputation?
Oh, for sure. It's going to play. It won't replace it. The concept of reputation is personal brand. It's just that they'll have access to it quicker.
Yeah.
Rather than before, I had to get to know you to know what your personal brand was like, right? Now I don't. Now I got access to social media and other people's opinions. But if I still want the right opinion, I should come to you, right?
Of course.
So all technology's done is speed everything up.
And exposed.
Yeah, and they go on about the millennials. Well, the millennials finished at age 35, right? They didn't invent the internet, mate.
Yeah.
They didn't invent what problem we have now.
Yeah.
So all these muppets that are older that whinge about the young people, they're the ones that created it.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and that's
and
the
it's only
irony
gonna get
of this.
faster and faster, right?
Well, that's the irony of the world,
Yeah.
is that it's them that have created it that are blaming the young people. The young people have just taken it on and grabbed what you've created.
Yeah.
It's not Bill Gates is not 37. Do you know what I mean? Like,
exactly right. Yeah,
it's all these
I
guys.
agree with it saying.
So it's that's what people don't realise, is that, and what needs to happen to break that cycle. Well, again, it's like a scalpel. It can be used for good and it can be used for bad. And it is that simple. It's mindset.
Yeah.
Facebook can be used for good and it can be used for bad. I don't post anything about the kids on Facebook.
Yeah.
Because I've got everyone and anyone that's on my public profile.
Yeah.
So I don't discriminate. So I put a little bit of personal, put a little bit of business, I put a little bit of inspiration, I put a bit of... And people go, you shouldn't tag where you are. It doesn't matter, because people tag me all over the world.
Yeah.
So they don't know where I am.
Yeah.
Just because I post something doesn't mean they know where I am.
Yeah, true.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because then the next minute someone will post me in Brazil, and I'm not in Brazil. So, because everyone's got a comment, of course.
Yeah.
But that's I don't know what I'd call it, but I'm very simplistic in my views of that sort of stuff.
Are you putting a lot of time and attention into that, to building that at the moment for yourself? Or
No,
not
that's
really?
just a byproduct.
Just byproduct.
Personal brand is a byproduct of you going about your values and what, and brand value to you is different brand value to what somebody else might think. So, if I say to somebody, this is my personal brand, well, that's what I think it is. It's like culture. These people that put their culture statements on the wall. Ask the people that visit you what your culture is.
Yeah. It's what it is, not what's
That's
on the wall.
not what you'd wish it to be.
If, Phil, you could have one law changed, what would it be? A question I ask
Payroll tax.
everybody.
And that's because it's the most negative, stifler, ridiculous, bullshit, illegal, it should actually be illegal, tax that exists in the world. There's plenty others, but it is the most. And what I mean by that is being penalised financially to employ more people. And most people don't understand what payroll tax is. So all your listeners out there, your payroll tax is that employers are penalised and pay an extra tax if their payroll is more than a certain amount. Now, we're lucky in Queensland, and I had a lot to do with this when Campbell was Lord Mayor, it went to a 1.5 million threshold.
Yep.
So if you pay over $1.5 million in wages, you pay, I think it's 4 or 5% per annum payroll tax. So you are taxed for employing more people. Now, to me, that is illegal and criminal. In Sydney and Melbourne, I think it's 600,000. So a plumber, for argument's sake, employs 3 people plus himself, will surely hit over the 600 mark, right? They charged an extra % of tax for employing more people.
It goes against almost every other law, particularly in regards to tax that we have in place, right? Because the tax code is really just a set of rules to what should be stimulate growth rather than...
Well, then you get into things like capital gains tax, and people go, what's that? Well, you build a business, you start a business from scratch. The government doesn't give you any money to do so. You take the risk, you put the money in, you work your ass off, you stay away from your family, you miss moments, birthdays, you do all sorts of stuff. And then when you sell the business,
Take
they take 24%.
Yeah.
So anyone that's starting a business, just remember, or is in business, remember that 24% of that business belongs to the government for no reason.
It's a good way of looking at what's the truth, isn't it? If you get the sale. Do you have any favourite books or documentaries that you recommend?
I love simple books. There's 3 of them. The Go-Giver
Oh, yeah?
by Berg. Can't remember the first name. Fish by Steve London, which is all about customer. And Hug Your Customer. And I can't remember the author there. Hug Your Customer was at the back of what, Flight Centre and even Di Bella was built on. So all about being customer-centric. Fish was a big one for us, and I know Steve London personally.
Oh, yeah?
And he, one of the I think it's still number 1 in the world for customer service. It's all about choosing your attitude, being present, and making the customer's day. We always talked about it as fish philosophy. They're all very simple, thin, easy to read books. And Go Giver is all about the art of loving to give.
Is it that overall concept, very broadly speaking, of falling in love with your customer as opposed to falling in love with your product?
Completely.
Okay.
It's the customer who buys the product. Product doesn't buy product.
We've got one more. Do you have a favourite quote or saying that you try to live by? What is it and what does it mean to you?
Well, I've got 2. Gandhi's be part of the change you want to see in this world.
Oh, nice, yeah.
Because everyone wants to complain, whinge and bitch and carry on. And I said to them, well, if you want change, be part of it. Simply put, it's a great way to manage staff, team members. For the people listening that have got business, easy way to manage your team. You're bringing forward some great problems. Where's the solution? Be part of the change you want to see, as Gandhi says.
Yeah.
You want change? Be part of it. And the second one is my quote, where I talk about people's limitations are often self-imposed. Is that people limit themselves. It's self-imposed limitation. There is no limit to what one can achieve. It's the only limitation you put on yourself.
Very sound advice. Well, Phil, if someone wants to get in contact with you or follow your work with what you're doing, where's the best
jump
place
on
to get
Facebook or jump on LinkedIn.
I'll put notes to that with the episode. Well, look, Phil, thanks again for having me in and sitting down and doing this. Much appreciated, and it's been a blast.
Perfect. Thanks for having me.
Hey everybody, it's Matt again. Thanks for listening. Just a couple of things before you guys clock off. You can get all Trench Talk episodes at xrm.com.au/podcast. You can also sign up for other goodies at the same site. Just plonk your email in there and you are covered. That's X for X-ray, R for Romeo, M for Mike.com.au/podcast. If you really like what I'm bringing you, please head to iTunes, subscribe to this show and leave a review right there. And lastly, if you want to contact me directly, type the @ symbol followed by Mr. Matt Reynolds into your search bar and you'll find all the social links. Goodbye.